All right, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the Monster Mash. So, today we got a little bit of a long one. I spent quite a bit fighting this Monoblos. Probably because I was using hammer. Probably because I was playing not my greatest. I didn't actually prepare a whole lot for this hunt. I figured it because I figured, was this a village hunt or was this a I think this was a village hunt. I don't think this was a hub hunt. So I don't know why it took me 30 goddamn minutes to kill a Monoblos, but hey, you know, that's just kind of what happens when you don't prepare properly in Old World Monster Hunter. So we got a little bit of time. So I wanted to sit and talk about a few things that I have been dealing with recently. Sorry if you heard a little bit of a thing there. I'm trying to adjust my microphone live. I should have done this before I started recording, but whatever. We're going to talk about computers and technology and how much I fucking hate it all. So a lot of this discussion is sparked from two things, one of which I'm probably going to do main channel videos on both of these topics. I'm just kind of like filtering my ideas a little bit, just kind of getting them out of my head, I guess. The first one is at time of recording, I'm trying to prepare for a live recording, like a live action recording of something that I need to do, and I need to have a camera positioned, and I need to have lighting, and I need to make sure the lighting is good, and I gotta, you know, make sure that it all looks good, right? Because I'm making good video, or at least I want to make good videos. But here's the thing: one of my lights was very graciously gifted to me by my dad. He got me one of the Elgato key lights. And that was very nice of him, as those lights are very good and they do their job well when they work. Key word or key phrase, when they work. So this has nothing against my dad. And I very appreciate that he got me this light. And I don't want that to be lost when I complain about how fucking awful the Elgato key lights are, and how fucking awful just Internet of Things technology is in general. I would have zero issue with these fucking lights if they had buttons and dials on the back of them where I could adjust without the need of an internet connection. If I could turn off the internet on my fucking key lights and just use potentiometers or switches or buttons to adjust the brightness and temperature like I can on my other light doesn't even fucking use the internet. So it baffles the fuck out of me that this marvelous feat of ingenuity where we can adjust our lights through the internet. It genuinely is cool when it works, but when it doesn't work, it's so fucking annoying. So let me describe to you why I'm so pissed off by this. So if you want to use the Elgato key light in the way that Elgato wants you to, because they're fucking Apple, you need to download the Elgato Control Center application, right? And first off, I'm just fucking sick of devices needing companion apps. I genuinely do not appreciate it. I think it is stupid, and I think it's just a reason for these companies to get into your phone and start siphoning data off to God knows where else, the fucking highest bidder or whatever, so they can make a little bit extra scratch on the side. Fuck you, Elgato. So, okay, I have two cell phones, okay? I have my old cell phone that I paid off over the course of a few years, and then I have the one that I got recently that I installed a custom Android ROM onto. And the first one is too old of a version of Android, so the Elgato control software doesn't work. It's a Galaxy Note 8, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, no, it's a Galaxy Note 8, so it's old. I think it caps out around like Android 12 or wait, what version of Android does this thing even fucking use? I don't even know how to check this shit, dude. Like, I don't... Hold on. About phone. Here we go. Is there... About phone, model number, serial number, status? Is it under status? phone status, FCC, Bluetooth, MAC address, software information, Android version. Okay, so it caps out at Android 9. We're on like Android 13 or 14 at this point, so I can't go any higher on this phone. And on my new phone, I think it caps out around like Android 12, I think. I don't know. I'm so fucking tired of Android phones. I'm tired of phones in general. God damn it. What happened to devices just fucking working? Beside the point. So, I can't use the Elgato control software on my old phone, right? But my new phone has Android 12. Presumably, one that is supported by the Elgato Control Center. No, it doesn't work, because that would be too easy. A little bit of context. The custom Android ROM that I installed is something called EOS. E/E/OS. It's just as stupid as fucking Pop OS, but whatever. You understand the point that I'm trying to get to. So, this Android ROM is very special in that it blocks a lot of those tracking services. And it has options built in place to where apps that would usually get like location data and carrier data and shit like that, it's actually blocked when the app isn't open. And I fucking adore that. I love that shit. And I'm thinking that some of these privacy-oriented features on my phone is breaking some fucking dependency because Elgato's a piece of shit company and they don't want me to fucking use their devices. And it just doesn't work. I don't understand why. It works perfectly on my dad's phone. It works perfectly on any other phone that we've only tested my dad's phone. It works just fine on my dad's phone. It has never worked on any of the phones that I have had. So, why in God's green earth would you tie functionality of this fucking piece of hardware to a companion app that isn't guaranteed to work? The light is of good quality. It gets really bright. It has a wide range of temperatures and brightnesses it can hit. It's very useful. And having it attached to my desk is also pretty useful. Can't really use it though. So, I'm just kind of at a loss right now. I think all I'm gonna do is I'm just going to record the video anyway and then have a joke at the beginning saying, "Fuck you, Elgato," and I'm just gonna move on with it. Because this video has a very specific date I need to get it out on. You'll understand when the day comes. At least maybe if you watch the main channel. So, yeah, fucking Elgato. I hate it. I hate anything that Elgato has. Don't even get me. I'm looking at my fucking Stream Deck right now. Don't even get me fucking started on my Stream Deck. So, for additional context, for those of you who happen to only watch this channel and don't watch any of my other content on YouTube, I am running this game, this software, this voiceover, this editing. Everything that I do is run off of Linux. I don't use Windows because I hate Windows and I hate Apple even more. So, everything that I do has to run off of Linux, and I care deeply about my privacy, and I care deeply about where my data is being shipped to, and I care deeply about all these different factors that basically boil down to I like having more control over my hardware, right? I just yelled at you for how long have we been doing this? I just yelled at you for a solid 8 minutes about how much I hate companion apps and companion software and Internet of Things bullshit. So it stands to reason that someone like me would also very much appreciate running Linux. What the fuck was the point? What was I even trying to get to? I completely forgot. The Stream Deck, yeah. So Elgato, being the wonderful fucking company that they are, just doesn't support Linux with their Stream Deck software. And I'm like, fine, whatever. I don't really use it that much anyway, so I'm not exactly hurting about it. I'm honestly thinking about selling this fucking thing. I never use it. My dad actually owns one, and he's like, yeah, I use these couple pieces of software called Stream Deck UI, and then there's also Boatswain. Boatswain is a flat pack that uses the GNOME GTK layout or whatever. I'm not a big fan of the GNOME GTK layout, but whatever. Who fucking cares? If you're not a Linux user, you have no fucking idea what I just said. So, yeah, there's a couple of packages that you can get that allow functionality for the Stream Deck, god damn it, the functionality for the Stream Deck on your Linux-based system. And both of the applications that I downloaded just don't work. I don't know what happened. It just doesn't fucking work. And it's always been Elgato hardware that I've had problems with. So, like, genuinely, I'm probably just gonna sell my Stream Deck. I don't fucking use it. I don't care. Like, it adds a massive amount. Like, back when I used to use Windows and I owned this thing, it was genuinely really useful to switch OBS layouts and toggle on and off microphones and do a bunch of other funny stuff. And I'm sure if I really took the time to link pieces of software together and made the commands work and everything, I guarantee you that even in... I guarantee you that the Stream Deck could get way more functionality on Linux, because my dad was saying that on Stream Deck UI... Why am I pausing? Did I pause for something? Oh, I think I went to go pause for to turn on the air conditioning at this point. Anyway, if I can have a button that could run a bash script or a bash command, oh my god, the functionality in that would be unbelievably great. I could just press a button on my Stream Deck if I wanted to update my system. Do a sudo pacman-s -syu and flatpak update -y. If I could do that with the click of a button, that'd be super, super fucking useful, right? But, you know, it just doesn't... The apps that I download just don't want to work. By the way, I'm the fucking meme at this point. I can also talk about this. I use Arch, by the way, if you know anything about Linux. I just finally installed my first Arch-based system. And, well, not first, but first, like, Arch from the command line. I've used Endeavor OS in the past, and I've used Manjaro before, and that's a whole fucking other story. Honestly, I feel like I could tell that story because I probably told them on the main channel before, so we're just catching up at this point. So I have a ThinkPad laptop, and on the ThinkPad, I've run a few distros on there just to get a feel for different things in different desktop environments and trying to, you know, just experimenting, you know? It's the destiny of every Linux user to eventually buy a ThinkPad, so I was just doing my due diligence as a Linux user and, you know, doing what every user does. So I got the ThinkPad, and I started with, I think it was either Fedora or Pop! OS. Maybe it was one of those. I forget which distro I installed, but I wanted specifically to use GNOME. Like a year or two ago, when I made that video on Fedora Linux, I said that GNOME would be really good for a single monitor environment, and I wanted to like try that, and I wanted to like actually see how that would go. And it actually went fine. I think GNOME is actually totally fine on laptops. So whenever I finally sit down and get my framework laptop, I'll probably just install GNOME on it just to see what happens, you know. Endeavor OS on GNOME. That should be fine, yeah. Normally I use KDE Plasma if you're a Linux user and you know what I'm saying. I'm sorry if you're not a Linux user. I'm just kind of just throwing a bunch of shit out there. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. All that yelling has made my throat all groggy. Anyway, yeah. So I had the ThinkPad, and I installed a flavor of Linux called Manjaro. Now, if you're not a Linux user, a little bit of context. There are a few different types of Linux that I've talked about. I said the word distro earlier. If you don't have any context, that's totally fine. I'm not gonna... Look, if you don't know what Linux is, totally fine, and I'm sorry. So, I installed something called Manjaro, and Manjaro has a little bit of infamy in the Linux community, in that it breaks a lot, and nobody really trusts it anymore. A lot of people, like 3 years ago, would say, like, yeah, Manjaro is the beginner's doorway into Arch Linux, or Arch-based Linux. There's a lot of little things that go into what makes an Arch Linux distro different from like an Ubuntu or a Debian-based distro. Really, the only thing you have to understand is that Arch-based Linux systems are, relatively speaking, more difficult to manage, and you have to like know what you're doing with Linux to get the most out of Arch. If you're new to it, it's probably not the most efficient use of your time, and you'd probably have a much better time using something like Ubuntu or Linux Mint, which are not based on Arch. So, I install Manjaro on my ThinkPad because I wanted to see. I wanted to understand like what the kerfuffle was. I wanted to see why this distro was so polarizing. Because there's people that like love Manjaro, and then there's people that really despise Manjaro and have pretty much only negative things to say about it. And I installed it and I used it for a couple of months, and it wasn't. It was actually fine. I thought it was totally fine. I was using it just fine for my classes to take notes. I used it for browsing the internet. I used it for, just various other miscellaneous things. Yeah, I used it for my school laptop. I'm not really going to use my school laptop a whole lot. What I also had to fucking loan a laptop from the school because they wouldn't allow me to take my tests on my Linux system because, god damn it, you gotta have that fucking DRM. You gotta have that fucking kernel level anti-cheat for your fucking homework and exams. Besides the point. So I'm going to classes and I'm using Manjaro, and it's fine. I'm learning the different intricacies of Arch, and I'm understanding how it works, and I'm understanding the rolling release thing that a lot of Linux users say about it. And it's going just fine. And then I update before one of my classes at like 7 in the morning, and the system dies. It it fucking killed itself. I don't know what happened. I think there was an update for like the bootloader or some shit. There was an update to some very specific thing in Manjaro, and it fucking killed itself. And so that was fun to have it do that right before I fucking, go to class. By the way, I know that there's the meme of Linux breaks all the time. And while that does happen, if you're careful and you have, not even careful, if you're just like, if you have some basic level of like, oh, I'm not going to destroy my computer today, you're going to be fine, right? The reason being, and I actually did look into this afterwards, the reason my computer killed itself was actually a Manjaro issue, and it was because some package that they updated broke something that would allow it to boot into the desktop. So I didn't even do anything. That was Manjaro's fault. It wasn't fucking my fault. I keep good care. I take good care of my systems. So yeah, it killed itself. And after that class, I had to fucking take my notes in the back of my... It was a fucking biology class, too. I had to take my notes in the back of the biology book that we had. Not like the textbook, like we had like a lab manual. And I had to take my notes for that day in the back of the lab manual. So that was fun. But, whatever. Doesn't really matter a whole lot. After I got home that day, I was able to successfully get my notes off of my old Manjaro install, and I just fucking wiped it. I got my notes off, all I needed. I wiped it, and I installed EndeavourOS, which again is based on Arch, and it's based on Arch, and it's more like tailor-made to be like plug and play. It's like the new Manjaro, where it's like, oh, you can just install this like a normal system, and we're not gonna fuck with it a whole lot. We're gonna get as close as possible to just base level. We're not gonna install a bunch of stupid packages. We're not gonna install a bunch of stupid fucking software that you don't need, that we just have on there for no reason. Which is kind of a problem with certain Linux distros. It doesn't even matter, because any Linux distro is still way less bloated than fucking Windows. Holy shit. To wrap up that EndeavourOS story, I've been running it on my laptop for the past couple years now. It has served me great. I have never run into a major issue with it since switching off of Manjaro. So, if you're even slightly interested in Linux, I never touch Manjaro. It's not worth it. Anyway, now we can talk about something that people can actually fucking relate to. How much everyone hates Windows. This is just the Pav complains about Linux fucking video, I guess. We have 30 minutes to kill, so I'm just gonna complain about every fucking thing I have to... I'm just gonna complain about everything. Whatever. This is the I'm pissed off and I'm gonna complain about technology video. So, I have a story where I was building a computer for a friend of mine. He paid me to build a computer for him. And he said he's not very technologically literate, even though he's in the Air Force, whatever. I feel like to be in the Air Force, you kind of have to have at least like some level of technological literacy. I guess not, though. So he asked me to build a computer for him, and I said, okay. So I'm like, me being me, knowing how to build computers, I'm sitting down with him and I'm like, okay, so what do you want this computer for? And he's like, I want to play video games on it. And I'm like, all right, cool. So we're obviously gonna have to put a lot of the budget into the GPU. We're gonna need to get a relatively decent CPU. Is there anything you're gonna be using this computer for besides playing video games? He's like, yeah, I gotta connect to some military thing. I have this dongle that I put in my military cat card into, and that gives me access to these servers that I can connect to and everything. And I'm like, okay, sure. That really doesn't. I mean, if we're building a computer for gaming, connecting to Department of Defense servers with a cat card dongle, that's gonna be just fine underneath a gaming computer. So whatever. Is there anything else you're gonna do for it? And he's like, no, not really. And I'm like, okay, sure, fair enough. So I got him a parts list and everything, and he specified to me that he wanted all brand new parts. He did not want to get any used parts because I told him that I knew someone local that has RTX 3080s for $400, and which is where I got my RTX 3080. I managed to get lucky and find someone who previously owned a mining rig, and they're offloading their GPU hardware. And I've been running the 3080 just fine for the past, I think, 6 months. No issues at all. It's been running basically like new. And I got it for $400. And in this market, holy shit, that's a good fucking deal. So I told him, like, yeah, I have someone I know someone who used to do that, and we can get you that. He's like, no, I don't want to deal with that. I think he didn't specify this, but I think he wanted to have the warranties for the parts just in case, which honestly, totally fair if you were thinking about having the warranties. I can totally understand that, especially for someone who doesn't exactly have time to troubleshoot and fix problems on their computer or whatever. So, whatever. I get him the parts list. I tell him, hey, we're going to do this. And I say, all right, now we have to talk about your operating system. And he's like, I don't want Linux, fuck you. And I'm like, you know what? Fair enough. And I said to him, you wanted all new parts, right? And he goes, yeah. And I go, well, you want to put Windows 11 on it? And he's just like, yeah, fuck, whatever, sure. And he fucking paid for Windows 11. He paid for the fucking key. He paid for a fucking physical USB stick of Windows 11 that I picked up at Micro Center. And fucking okay, I built that computer just fine. Took me like a couple hours to actually build this computer. And I go to install Windows 11, and it won't let me install without an internet connection, which is fucking bullshit. Look, I've been running Linux as my daily driver for the past 3 years. I have never ran into a situation. Okay, actually, there's one. The only one that I've had is Arch Linux, where you had to have a stable internet connection. But that was not because, Microsoft needed to double check and make sure that you actually bought your fucking your USB stick and you suckled on the teat of Bill Gates or whatever. It was, yeah, so oh my god, my screensaver just turned on. Come on, buddy. Okay, cool. I need to move my mouse over a little bit every now and then. When Linux asks you to have a stable internet connection, it's to download good packages. So like, let's say you're installing EndeavourOS and you have the online version of the installer, which, by the way, EndeavourOS is an online and an offline version, so you don't need to have an internet connection to install it. But beside the point, in the online version, the reasoning why it requests that you have an internet connection is so that you can install different desktops. So it's like, oh, I can install this desktop package to look like a Mac system, or I can choose at install to install this one that looks like Windows, or this one that looks like fucking Windows 98. Whatever. Who gives a shit? So it is, like, not rarely, but when it does need an internet connection, it's not to double check that your purchase is legitimate. It's just to be like, hey, do you want to choose a specific package that we can't bundle in because it would fucking bloat the size of the ISO that you need to download? So, first off, it requires an internet connection for Windows to install. Bullshit. I hate it. And I couldn't get an internet connection because I didn't have the fucking internet drivers on the Windows system. Because for some fucking reason, Windows just decides that, hey, we're going to ship a fucking system that doesn't come with the necessary drivers in the kernel to connect to the internet. Dude, on a live ISO, I can download an ISO of Endeavor OS today and flash that onto a USB stick, and that is a functioning Linux install. I can boot into that on a computer anywhere, and it can connect to the internet, it can download apps, it can even play fucking games if I really tried to, right? Linux is not going to fucking stop you. It comes with everything you need is what I'm saying. So Windows requiring an internet connection, but then not providing the Wi-Fi package needed for the system to connect to the internet to double check the fact that I purchased the fucking thing. I'm just really mad at Windows today. Oh man, I'm so fucking angry. Jesus Christ. Talking about Windows just makes my blood fucking boil, because it's so dumb. It's so fucking dumb. And every single time I run into a problem like this, where there's some bullshit about technology, where there's this really simple thing, I know exactly why they put those things in place. I know exactly why Microsoft forces an internet connection. I know exactly why when you're installing the thing, you have to shuffle through 4 different tabs that are like, hey, do you want to subscribe to the Microsoft Office subscription service? Do you want to install this piece of spyware on your system? Hey, do you want to subscribe to Adobe? You know, are you doing creative things? Do you want to use this Adobe thing? You can subscribe to that. You can pay money for this. Hey, do you want Xbox Game Pass? Oh, you can play games on this. Oh, you can play Xbox Game Pass, though. You want to play games? Bro, you want to play games? Just give me money. Give me $15 a month, bro. You want the thing? Give me $15. It's just Microsoft trying to nickel and dime you, right? And don't even get me fucking started on Apple systems, because they're the absolute worst. Holy shit. They treat their computers like they're magical fucking boxes, and people eat that shit up, dude. It's so infuriating. Because, like, you don't need to be a technical savant to run Linux and build a computer. But then these companies take advantage of people's ignorance. It's just ignorance, right? And they take that, and it's like, oh man, you need to come to us to fix the box, because we built the box, so we know how the box is built. And you can't go to anybody else, because we're going to actually fucking deny them access to the parts that they need to fix your system. Oh, and by the way, fixing your system is us just like putting all your data on a new system and then just giving it to you, thereby creating more e-waste. Fuck Apple. Fuck Microsoft, dude. Fuck Elgato. Just... All I want is I want technology that doesn't connect to the internet, that works with buttons, and I'm allowed to open it. Is that so difficult, right? What the fuck happened to buttons, actually, now that I think about it? Why is every fucking device on... God damn it. Why is every device on the face of the earth just phasing out physical buttons? You know, all cell phones, smartphones nowadays, they don't have the home screen button anymore. What the fuck happened to that, right? Click wheel goes... I actually like the click wheel. Like, looking back on the iPod and everything, I think that was actually pretty cool. I'm looking at my DualSense controller right now, which I need to sell this fucking thing. It's stupid. But it's got that... the PS4 and the PS5 controller have those fucking touch pads on the tops of them. They're dumb. Whatever. I'm not the biggest fan of the touch pads. It's just... I'm just tired of technology treating me like I'm an idiot, you know? And like looking down at me when I'm trying to use it, because that's what a lot of these things do. When you're just trying to use them, they don't respect your intelligence. And that's kind of what I'm trying to get at, you know? I want to be able to open up a command line, and I want to be able to like really get into the fine intricacies of the options, because I will learn those intricacies of the options if those options work well for me in my workflow, right? I am absolutely willing to learn how to use a device to make my work get done more efficiently, but you need to allow me to actually use that fucking device, right? Making me install a companion app to do that and forcing me to have an internet connection at all times to use my light is not really allowing me to use my device, right? installing a bunch of fucking spyware and bloatware on my system and treating me like I'm some fucking inept child who can't properly work on their own device is not going to help me and is not making things more efficient, right? Oh man, I've been yelling about just bullshit technology for the past 30 minutes. I'm sorry, frankly. I have been talking about a lot of like really inside baseball things, but I guess that's just kind of like what this channel is, where I'm just talking about a bunch of stupid inside baseball bullshit. What a fucking tonal juxtaposition of going from last week's episode where I'm like basically depressed and scared and anxious to this one where I'm just angry the whole time. But to be fair, I actually have valid reasons to be angry because technology just fucking sucks. Which I think that's what the title of this episode will be. Technology just sucks. And it'll just be me yelling about technology and everything. By the way, if you're interested at all in Linux, you can go to the main channel over there. I never do this on this channel, but I might as well just include a link to like a Linux video that I did. Maybe that'd be useful to you if you're interested in trying out Linux. I don't know. I can get one of my like super, like, I don't know which video I would use for this actually. If I had to choose one video to introduce someone to Linux to, that's weird. Anyway, we killed the Monoblos. 31 minutes later, we finally fucking killed the Monoblos. Yeah, anyway, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, I'm sure if you don't use technology as often as I do, or you don't have the same thoughts in your head about technology as me, you probably have a lot of questions, which is totally fine and understandable, and I'm willing to answer questions. You can go ahead and send an email to MonsterMashMailbox@gmail.com. There you can ask me questions, you can submit episode topics, you can do whatever, honestly. You can send me a message and maybe that'll become a video one day. I mean, I made a video a couple weeks ago that was solely due to one of the fans of the channel sending in an email. So hey, maybe the next video could be because of you. And it'd be your fault. Oh, also, shout out to that anonymous person, by the way, because I never talked about this last week, but they made fucking fan art of Bismo, and I want to show that on screen right now before the video ends, and it's amazing, and they did a great job, and I really respect their shit. So yeah, send in that shit, and maybe I'll do fan art videos. I don't know, who fucking cares? Have a good one.